a comedian click with the audience? I mean, I'm sure there's more than one thing, but do you see anything that you notice that an audience leans forward and tends to really connect with a performer?
You know, I can't say, you know, if I do, I would sell it and bottle it and sell it and say, here's what you need to do. You know, you just kind of wait for it to happen and just be alert to what the audience is responding to. And I remember when I was in college, I used to work in a clothing store, and the gentleman who owned it would say, you know, we don't buy the clothes that we sell for ourselves. We buy them for the customers. And it's the same with comedy. You want to try and figure out what they want, what they're responding to, and then give it to them. But then you can kind of slip in a few things that you like too in the course of that.
Now, when somebody's talking about their material, you see some people talking about things that their parents do or things that people immediately can connect with. Because, oh yeah, my grandmother doesn't know how to use a cell phone either, or something like that. Do you think that there's a need for the audience to want to see something and recognize something that then they can relax and laugh because the comedian's like them
Well,
at
it's
that
an
point?
easy way for the comedian to establish rapport with the audience, to hit a common topic like that. But in the comedy competition, now you've got this panel of judges sitting back there, and they're looking for something unique, and we're actually telling them grade things unique higher. So you can be getting this audience reaction, and the judge, and you were a judge, so you tell me. But the judge is saying, well, no, I've heard material about being on an airplane or material about going to 7-Eleven. You know, that's just standard fare. I want to see something unique, and that stuff is harder to sell. But that is the higher level performance.
Now, for the comedy competition, in case anyone hasn't seen it, if you haven't, why haven't you? It's really a fun night. Could you explain a little bit about the process that these poor comedians go through? Because they start with a short set, and then they just jump around to all different venues, all different people. And if you can give them a little idea of what's that
Well, first
like?
they have to apply and be accepted, and we only accept 32, and we probably turn away about 300.
Wow.
And the great thing now is that we have people can just send me an email and say, I'm interested in doing it, and I can look at a YouTube clip that they're going to have, and I can make a pretty much of an instant decision. So it's not as time consuming as it used to be. But anyhow, so then once they get accepted, then they go through, ultimately, if they go all the way to the end, 23 performances. They start off doing 5 to 7 minutes in the preliminaries. Top 5 from each of 2 preliminary rounds advance to the semis. For the doubles, they do 12 minutes. And then as they go to the finals, the top 5 from the semis go to the finals, and they do 15 to 20 there. So what you have is you have the seasoned professionals up against someone who's got a good 5 minutes, but he's got an hysterical 5 minutes. So the professionals just, a lot of times, just clawing, maybe coming in 5th in that early round just to get to the next level where they can show much more material they have to give. So that's part of the challenge of it.
And how they can survive in a longer time.
Well, they will. They want to get to the longer time because the younger acts are going to generally not have as much material. Now, I was judging in one, but I actually sat and watched in the other one, so I got to see comedians do their material to one crowd, which is the Jewish Community Center. Let me tell you, it was amazing, and I saw some that killed there, I mean, really did well. Then they went to Mill Valley, which was the second one, same act, it didn't work, or vice versa. It was amazing because the young comedians go, I have a solid 5 minutes, I'm really going to kill, but then they go to a different venue, and because they haven't been traveling all over the United States and, Ohio and Oklahoma and all these places, they don't know how to respond when an audience doesn't like what they're doing, or do they kind of move it? Do you see well,
the
they
pros
should. I mean,
move
that's
it
one of the challenges for a comedian is, and of course when they're in their formative stages, they're going through so much rejection that they tend to be self-deluded as to whether they're funny or not, and a lot of times they're not honestly assessing how they did on stage. And to succeed in the comedy competition, you've got to know. You've got to know, am I going over with this crowd? And we have different kinds of crowds, so they might require different material to get over with them. And I always said the only person I never saw bomb was Dana Carvey, because he would figure out a way. Of course, I'm probably Robin never bombed either, but the only person I never saw bomb was Dana Carvey, because he would adjust it. He'd figure out what was going on. Also bring attention to it. Hey, I'm doing something wrong here. Don't just keep telling jokes and dig that hole deeper and deeper and deeper.
True. And the one thing that really bugs me is when you don't laugh and a comic goes, oh.
Yeah, it's too smart for you to comprehend.
It's like, no, we caught it. It's just not funny.
Yeah, that's always funny. Like, I'm too smart for you.
Exactly.
That's not a good move.
Well, I remember Dana way back at the other cafe. And he used to be, the one thing that was really wonderful about him, still is that he's having fun. no matter where he is, no matter how it's working or it's not working according to the audience, he's having fun and he's up there. And I love that about him. And I think audiences truly appreciate if somebody's having fun up on stage and not ignoring them, but just kind of leading you into the place and trying to get you happy like they are. It's so much easier to watch than a train wreck where they're getting nervous and flop sweat and it's like the sharks are circling. And I mean, do you notice that?
Well, I think he's selling that he's having fun. Because I think he's a very serious individual off stage and has his own frustrations, you know, with his career, all as great as it is.
That's true. Well, I enjoy him very much.
Yes.
So, question for you here. Let's talk about women in comedy. And do you find that women approach stand-up comedy different than guys?
Well, they have different topics of interest. And I think I've been a good proponent of trying to get women on stage for a long time now. And I used to really enjoy working with Ellen DeGeneres when she lived in town, and Sue Murphy.
Smurfy.
And she's now the producer of Chelsea Live, so she's gone behind the camera. But she was a great comedian in her time. And I just think that there's such an interest in women performers that sometimes they get pushed forward too quickly and find themselves in areas where they're kind of gotten beyond, you know, they haven't really prepared, they're not ready for sometimes. You know, like Margaret Cho when she had her TV series, you know, she wasn't really ready for that. But she's managed to survive it, and now she's a very popular live performer.
So you're saying they're more of an oddity? So people kind of want to include them because they're so fewer
Well, I
women
mean, 50% of the audience is looking for someone they can identify with, so sure, they want to see a woman up there. So when you get one that's funny, they get pushed forward very quickly. And I think that can work against them sometimes. Now,
I noticed that a lot of the female comics make fun of guys. And I kind of like the comics that don't necessarily take that route, all the same route, because I think women expect when women are up on stage that they're going to make fun of husbands or boyfriends, or, you know, but when they take you down a different path, I just find that really refreshing.
I agree, and I actually am going to be working with someone named Mary Mack, who I've heard great things out of Minneapolis, who does song parodies in as well as stand-up. And yeah, I think you don't want to make the men feel uncomfortable. If you know, there's plenty of time for that at home.
That's it. Good point. Now, San Francisco has such a diversity of people, and the people that live here, the comedy that used to be here. We kind of touched on this a little bit. We were speaking a little earlier about the different clubs and what they're bringing to the comedy scene nowadays. Because there's so many fewer clubs nowadays, but I find that a lot of them, and we were just talking about that, if you have TV credit, you're up on stage.
You need a TV credit to get up on stage around here. And when I started, which was in 1977, and I was reading Herb Caen every day and wanted to be part of that way of thinking that San Francisco could be a cultural equal to Los Angeles. We did not have to be spoon-fed our entertainment on television from LA. We were trying to develop local talent. And when someone did well in the comedy competition, like a Jake Johansson or someone like that, they would immediately go into headlining the local clubs. Now it seems like there's just not that much interest in developing local talent, and I think it's very regrettable. And I'd like to see someone work on that.
You mean maybe somebody like the Supreme Commander?
Well, it's not easy to open a comedy club, especially in San Francisco when there's so much going on, and the field is kind of occupied. And now Holly has opened Holly's Comedy Club. But I do have my clubs up in Seattle, and I try and do it up there.
Okay, well, we want it here.
I know you do.
So maybe we can find somebody out there who's got some money.
Well, that's right. Well, good point. If there are any venture capitalists out there that are interested in comedy, 415-302-0519.
Venture capitalists are most of my audience, right? All of you out there. But that's a fun way to bring that back. I think the San Francisco and the Bay Area, the United States, needs to laugh again. And they are in such a position where there's so many people that are very struggling right now with their mortgages and with all the stuff going on, that comedy is just a very important way to keep healthy and keep positive.
Well, just from a business point of view, if you are a club operator and you want to avoid flying somebody in and putting them up in a hotel, which is a major expense, it can be every bit as expensive as what you pay them to perform. If you have a local act, you avoid that. And plus, that local person has grown up here. They have all their friends from school and all their jobs that they've had. Those people are interested to come and support a local act. So there's a lot. It makes a business sense as well as philosophical sense. Get behind the locals. Come on. Why don't we have any local headliners around here?
That's a good point.